the beginning, there's been an effort to honor those who were lost in the Shoah because of their sexual orientation and this is something that, frankly, it's an embarrassment that it's taken this long. What would you like me to do?
I'm going to probably need just like a meeting with Adrian Benepi or a phone call, and your staff team can help.
I'll be glad to. Is that what it's going to take?
We're at that point now. I mean, I'm saying I finally got the text approved by the Holocaust Museum in Washington. Then we have to talk about funding, but now all I need is that final little push so that Adrian Benefi feels comfortable that Sheep Said Bay people are not going to go ballistic.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Where's the back?
Okay, I'm going to as many people as I can. I'll do Gil, then Neil, then Tom. Okay, then
You take this young man's information.
Gil Horowitz. Suggest you also contact the park designer of that park, George
George
Melendez.
Melendez did it.
Yes, we did it.
I've been working with him since
Good.
1995.
Okay, moving along. Comment, it was the right thing for you to withdraw in the mayor election in '05 because of the unity of the party, and it will be the right thing for you to enter and stay in and win this election for us. Question. Assuming that it goes as predicted and Obama will have a few more delegates going into the convention than Hillary, who I support and we support this club, and assuming that it is said, and you and I know that the whole purpose of the superdelegates was to pick the best candidate, that it will be said at that time, you're defying the will of the people. You're overturning the will of the people by some backroom deal. How will you talk to the other superdelegates and explain to them that it is in the interest of the party that we support Hillary, the best candidate? Thank you.
Well, thank you for the kind words about 2005. I think I did make the right decision then, and I've said then, and I say it now, I would rather not win an election than provide to make division in this city. I've learned the lesson that we've seen in the past, and I'm not going to go back there. But this time I won't be in it to finish second. Let me just say this. First of all, I think it's important. I think it's important that we honor the right of the states that haven't yet voted to do their thing. I mean, there's something, I mean, you can imagine how this sounds to a voter in Indiana, or a voter in Arizona, or a voter in Oregon, or a voter in Puerto Rico. All this talk about it being decided by the superdelegate. Well, let's let people vote first. I think that's let's see let the process work its way out. The second thing I would say, this notion that delegates are the best way to measure the will of the Democratic Party in choosing its nominee is ridiculous. You know, a delegate in Alaska is like one delegate assigned for every 233 people. I mean, the numbers might be a little off. And it's 5 times as many people to earn a delegate in Ohio. So already we know that delegates are of different value. I believe, you know, I have asked Senator Clinton for only one thing. I said that when she's the president, I don't need to be the chair of the Democratic Party. I want to be the first vice deputy co-chairman in charge of getting rid of caucuses. They are the I have seen now 2 of these up close and personal. One in Iowa, one in Nevada. And yeah, it's charming, you know, people like cajoling and yelling at each other, but I found a couple of things that were very troubling. One, terribly anti-democratic in the way they happen at fixed hours, usually in the middle of the day. I went knocking on doors for Hillary in Nevada. And about half of all the doors I knocked on were working people who worked during the day, who just couldn't say, I'm going to put down everything and go there. So what you wind up is this self-selecting group of political insiders. It's this notion that superdelegates are political insiders. You ain't seen nothing until you sat in a caucus and watched who's doing the business there. Secondly, it's anti-capital democratic. Why are we letting Republicans and independents so influence who we choose our nominees? I understand we want to pick a nominee who can appeal to those voters. But we have a way, you know, we're smart enough as Democrats to be able to think whether we want to have someone with certain positions or not. We're smart enough to make the decision for ourselves. If you look at how much influence independents and Republicans have had on our nominating process this year, it's ridiculous. I think that if you added up all the actual Democrats that voted for Hillary and all the actual Democrats that voted for Barack Obama, she'd be winning by a lot. But finally, real determinant, better than delegates, better than superdelegates. And by the way, I am ready to stipulate superdelegates should have less weight than one who's elected in the state by a primary. I will not say I should have less weight than one of these Yahoo caucuses. That I won't say. But if someone wants to say superdelegates are worth half as much as the ones in an open, in a primary for Democrats, I'll take that deal. But I want you to devalue the caucus ones as well. But the more important thing is, let's look, the vote is pretty close to tied for the popular vote. When human beings who've gone and cast votes for Hillary or for Barack, basically they're tied. I think that's a pretty important argument to make to people when they say, oh, this is, he's won the delegates, he's won the delegate fight. I think that is one important thing to say, who got the most elected delegates. But when superdelegates or any other kind of delegates that's unaffiliated sit down, I also want them to think, who have Democrats voted for more? And I also think a final thing. Do not minimize this notion that I'm interested in who won the Alaska caucus. I'm really interested in who won Ohio, who won Pennsylvania, who won these states that I will eat this chair if the Democrat wins Alaska. But if we don't win Florida, we ain't gonna have the presidency. That's the bottom line. Very quick question. I'll try to keep the answer short.
Neil, Tony, Pauline, Dirk.
Yeah, you said that you thought Bloomberg did a pretty good job. I
Yeah.
think most people in this room would beg to differ on LGBT issues. He's been on the wrong side of several things.
Well, look, here's what I'll say. First of all, he's been on a couple of sides on LGBT, issues. And I don't mind when my colleagues in government find their way to the right place. And I think that he has, after a long time having it on, I think found his way to the right place on marriage, although it's hard to divine it sometimes. I think basically, look, I ran against Mike Bloomberg. I obviously thought I could do a better job. I think that the level to which he's reduced the tensions in the city is something that we should give him credit for. I think there's no doubt about it that we had a city that he inherited that was in a difficult place, and I think that he helped. I think that there have been successes, I think there have been failures. But I think that by and large, he's created this environment that is going to be very helpful for someone like me if I succeed him, which is let's lean into big problems. Even if you disagree with him, for example, on congestion, which I do, you've got to honor him for having a document talking about where we're going to be in the year 2030. I like that type of thinking. It's something that we often don't do enough in politics. So I generally give him give pretty good grades. I obviously think I would have done a better job, but didn't quite work out that way.
Tony, quickly.
First of all, Congressman, thank you for your principled position on mainstreaming transgender rights and LGBT rights in general. My question, I serve on community board number 4. A business owner came in front of the committee that I serve on and wanted a liquor license for a White Glove restaurant in Hell's Kitchen, and the room was filled with people that wanted to deny them that license. He had been trying for 6 months to rent that space out and could not after his old tenant left because he can't find anybody but high-volume places like a restaurant.
Let's do that.
Let me ask this question, please.
No.
This is very important. Another applicant explained that for his 1,800 square feet, he's paying $35,000 a month. So that means that only McDonald's and Starbucks and drugstores, etc., are going to be in those spaces. This city is losing its character as a result of policies that allows this to happen. As mayor, what will you do to allow, the bookstore that all the people in that room wanted a bookstore in that place? I'm sorry, no bookstore is going in there. How do we solve this problem?
Well,